Surely this man McGee will have too. Rob McGee struck me as a good man, and I think he's a hell of a law officer, I said, but he swings no weight in Trapingus County. The power there is Sheriff Cribbis, and the day he reopens the Dederick case on the basis of what I was able to find out would be the day it snows in hell. But if Wharton was there, if Dederick can identify a picture of him and they know he was there. Him being there in May doesn't mean he came back and killed those girls in June, Brutal said. He spoke in a low, gentle voice, the way you speak when you're telling someone there's been a death in the family. On one hand you've got this fellow who helped Klaus Dederick paint a barn and then went away. Turns out he was committing crimes all over the place, but there's nothing against him for the 3 days in May he was around Tefton. On the other hand, you've got this big Negro, this huge Negro, that you found on the riverbank, holding 2 little dead girls, both of them naked, in his arms. He shook his head. Paul's right, January McGee may have his doubts, but McGee doesn't matter. Cribbis is the only one who can reopen the case, and Cribbis doesn't want to mess with what he thinks of as a happy ending. It was a nigger, thinks he, and not one of ourn in any case. Beautiful. I'll go up there to Cold Mountain, have me a steak and a draft beer at Ma's, then watch him fry, and there's an end to it. Janice listened to all this with a mounting expression of horror on her face, then turned to me. But McGee believes it, doesn't he, Paul? I could see it on your face. Deputy McGee knows he arrested the wrong man. Won't he stand up to the sheriff? All he can do by standing up to him is lose his job, I said. Yes, I think that in his heart he knows it was Wharton. But what he says to himself is that, if he keeps his mouth shut and plays the game until Cribbis either retires or eats himself to death, he gets the job. And things will be different then. That's what he tells himself to get to sleep, I imagine. And he's probably not so much different than Homer about one thing. He'll tell himself, after all, it's only a Negro. It's not like they're going to burn a white man for it. Then you'll have to go to them, Janice said, and my heart turned cold at the decisive, no doubt about it tone of her voice. Go and tell them what you found out. And how should we tell them we found it out, Jan? Brutal asked her in that same low voice. Should we tell them about how Wharton grabbed John while we were taking him out of the prison to work a miracle on the warden's wife? No, of course not, but she saw how thin the ice was in that direction and skated in another one. Lie, then, she said. She looked defiantly at Brutal, then turned that look on me. It was hot enough to smoke a hole in newspaper, you'd have said. Lie, I repeated. Lie about what? About what got you going, first up to Purdom County and then down to Trepingus. Go down there to that fat old Sheriff Cribbis and say that Wharton told you he raped and murdered the Dederick girls. That he confessed. She switched her hot gaze to Brutal for a moment. You can back him up, Brutus. You can say you were there when he confessed, you heard it, too. Why, Percy probably heard it as well, and that was probably what set him off. He shot Wharton because he couldn't stand thinking of what Wharton had done to those children. It snapped his mind. Just what? What now, in the name of God? It wasn't just me and Brutal, Harry and Dean were looking at her, too, with a kind of horror. We never reported anything like that, ma'am, Harry said. He spoke as if talking to a child. The first thing people'd ask is why we didn't. We're supposed to report anything our cell babies say about prior crimes. Theirs or anyone else's. Not that we would have believed him, Brutal put in. A man like Wild Bill Wharton lies about anything, January. Crimes he's committed, big shots he's known, women he's gone to bed with, touchdowns he scored in high school, even the damn weather. But her face was agonized. I went to put my arm around her and she pushed it violently away. But he was there,